is that every single thing that I'm going to tell you today, okay, you can ignore it if it is coming in the way of survival. I'll explain what I mean by that. So let me go back one slide. So let us say I told you something about, build a great knowledge base and, use that to, pull out great features, all of that, right? If you feel that, and it's your call, if you feel that that is taking away too much time, you have, let's say you have a runway of a couple of months or 3 months, 4 months, right? And you really need to get some revenue in, okay? Throw out all the advice that you have ever heard, okay? I don't care if you have to copy somebody's product. That's a very hard thing to do, though. I'll not recommend it. But the point is, you should do whatever it takes to get paid in your product. Build something, get paid for it. Okay. To reach that step, if you have to throw away all the startup advice, if you have to throw away everything that you know, do it. No problem. Okay. This trumps everything. Survival is most important. Second one was listen and ignore. I've sort of covered it, but the meta point here is that everyone will give you startup advice based on their experience, and every advice is sort of subject to a lot of survivorship bias. Okay, take what you can. Okay, and things that do not align with you very well, ignore them. Okay, because if they're not aligning, either the advice is wrong for you or you have not got it. Okay, but once you start to implement somebody else's framework, you will sort of feel that some things come very naturally to you from that framework, some things don't fight it too hard. Okay, and the most important thing is that do one thing well. What I mean by this is this. So even the most seasoned investors talk about stuff like this, that distribution is more important than building a product, or building great product is most important thing, or talking to customers is most important thing. If you guys are students, right? So I'm sure you spend a fair amount of time studying your curriculum, right? If you can spare some time, try and study the best known startups of today. Okay, not 10 years ago. Do not study Google. That will give you a wrong information. Study best known startups of today. For example, study Notion. One of these Indian companies called Postman recently raised a lot of money. Study that company. When I say study, do not study what they're doing today. Study what they were doing 5 years ago. Okay, you will realize that most of these very successful startups were bad at everything, but were very good at one thing. Like Notion was very good at design. The product was sketchy, the features were very little, there were so many things wrong with Notion. Okay, but they were super awesome at design, and they got one user requirement right. I'll not get into the details of that gave them basically a hook to survive. Once they survived, they started to do other things well. They got better at marketing, they got better at engineering, and so on and so forth. But they were like top notch. They were like top 1% on design. Okay. Likewise, figure out your strength. If you're good at engineering, do that thing very well. Okay. If you're good at marketing, do that well. But you must do one thing really, really well to be able to survive. Okay. That was a very 10,000 foot view. Let's go a little deeper. First thing is how to get good ideas. Okay, now getting good ideas is I'm not sure what stage most of you are at. If you're student entrepreneurs, I'm assuming that you guys at one point had one idea or two ideas or maybe four ideas, and you shared it with some mentors, some friends, and then decided to work on them. Okay, if you keep being an entrepreneur, you will realize that you will start to get ideas every now and then. Okay, so it's important to be able to figure out which of these ideas are good, which are not, and how to validate them. Okay, but before that, first of all, the most important thing about getting good ideas is if you were your own customer. Scratch your itch basically means that you are solving your own problem. So I'll tell you what I mean by that. Uh, when we started Lightcat has gone through 3 iterations by now. Folks at AIC are sort of aware of us. They've known us for a long time. We started Lightcat by in order to solve our own problems. Okay. As a result of that, today nobody can give me any feedback which I will have to take, because I am the customer of my own product. Yeah, I'm the primary customer of my own product, and I have been doing this for 10 years now, so I understand what the market needs. Okay. That does not complete my knowledge base. That is still like the first 5% only. 95% I still don't know, but at least that 5% tells me that I am sort of in the right direction. I may fail, I may succeed, I don't know, but I do know what I need to build and what I don't. Okay, so that is the advantage of scratching your own itch. It doesn't mean that you will succeed or you will fail, but you sort of will know that somebody in the world has this problem, because at least you are that one person. Okay, The other bit is doing customer interviews. So even if you're scratching your own itch, you still go out to the market, talk to customers, ask them questions. Okay. And you can do a Google search on how to do customer interviews. Okay. You'll find a lot of stuff. Ignore most of it. I'll towards the end of this presentation, I'll give you a list of resources that you can consume. Okay. I'll tell you the name of the best one, one of the best ones for customer interviews. That is called startupschool.org. It is by Y Combinator. Startupschool.org. Just check it out whenever you get time. They have covered the CEO of Y Combinator, called Michael Shevel, has covered a lot of ideas on how to do customer interviews. That's a really good resource. Okay. In the interest of time, I'll just cover the gist of it. The gist of it is, do not ask customers for features. Do not ask customers what is their problem. Do not ask customers if your product makes sense to them and if they will use it, because customers do not know. Okay, they will give you wrong answers. Okay, like if I came to you and asked you, are you going to use my product to build your product? Okay, many of you might say yes, many of you might say, it's complicated, right? But even the people who said yes, right, would not be able to predict their own behavior. It may happen that after using it 5 times, you feel that something is not right. Okay, and you won't be able to pinpoint what is not right. Okay, instead, you need to ask your question with this sentence: when was the last time you did this? Okay, so to do this, when you fill in the blank, this part, okay, the fill in the blank is basically the problem that you're trying to solve. We'll come to problems and I'll elaborate there. But let us take an example. Okay, if I was building Zoom, okay, and Zoom did this, by the way. Zoom was actually scratching their own itch to begin with. So you would go to a customer and say, when was the last time you did a webinar, or when was the last time you attended a webinar? Okay, people will say, a month back or last week or whatever, right? And then you go to the depth of that experience and you will say, okay, tell me, how was it? How did you feel? Was there a problem? How many people were there? Okay, what Zoom did was, Zoom knew that people could not do webinars for more than 4 or 5 people without without the connection problems occurring. Okay, so the webinar softwares were not stable. Okay, Zoom solved that problem. It figured out that people couldn't do webinars if there were more than 3 or 4 attendants. Okay, it was very hard to do. Technology wasn't that great. The Zoom founder was one of the senior technologists in one of the top companies that built webinar softwares. So he got out, he raised some money, and he built Zoom. Okay, but if they went ahead and asked any customer, do you want a new webinar software? They would have said, no, we all know this, webinar software X is, really good. Everyone uses it. Skype is good. I use Skype, whatever, right? But he didn't ask that. Okay, what they wanted to figure out was, when the last time people did a webinar, what was the problem they faced? And the problem was, you couldn't get beyond 4 or 5 customers or 4 or 5 attendants. Correct? They solved that. So that is very important, that you ask about the experience, not about features, not about problems. Okay. Now this is another bit. Throw away your ideas. So let us say you go to the first step, you ask these questions, right? People start to talk. Okay. When I'll explain them how to build a knowledge base bit, but what happens here is that you will start listing down everything, you will note down everything, you will share it with your co-founders, and then you will come up with a bunch of features, okay, or a bunch of products that you want to build. Okay. Now, some of these products you will really love. You'll be like, wow, this is amazing. This is going to change the world. Okay. And then you go ahead and talk to customers, maybe make an MVP, right? And you don't get enough traction, or you get traction, but it does not cross a few levels. Okay. So you get some traction, but people are not using it, or people are using it, but they're not willing to pay for it. Somewhere you're facing a problem. Okay. Now, most entrepreneurs at that point of time are so much in love with their idea that they do not want to throw it away. And when I say I throw it away, I don't necessarily mean throw away the whole product. It could be a feature. It could be something new that you thought about. It could be any of those things. Or it could also be your entire product, for all I care, right? It's a bit artistic. There's no science to it. You don't know what you should throw away, what you should retain. The larger point here is, do not do these 2 mistakes. Do not fall in love with your idea, and do not get into the sunk cost fallacy. This is the second most common thing for people working on bad ideas. Sunk cost fallacy basically means that I have worked on an idea for, let's say, 3 months. Okay, and when you're in your early 20s, 3 months is like, it's 6 months is a semester, right? 3 months is a long period of time. You feel that you've spent so much of time on this that there must be something in it, right? All of the time that you've spent is now getting wasted if you throw it away. Okay. You have that feeling much less when you're 30s, and I've been told that, when people reach 40s, they are even, their appreciation for their own time, is even lesser. So they're like, okay, I've got time. But that doesn't happen in 20s. Okay. So when I first built my first product, it didn't work. And I didn't want to throw it away because I had worked on it really hard, like literally 14 hours a day for about 3 months, almost exactly the number I gave you before. And I was not the only one. None of my co-founders and everyone else that we knew who had worked like that didn't want to throw away their ideas, even if the ideas were not working, simply because they had worked so hard at it. Okay. Very hard to decide, right? But don't try not to do that mistake. It's easier said than done. Okay. But do be aware that when you want to stick with an idea, is it perseverance, which is a good thing, or is it a sunk cost fallacy, which is a bad thing? Okay. Only you can answer that question. I can only give you the framework. Now this is an important bit: how to build a knowledge base. Before I get here, I will actually stop. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so I would like to ask something.
Yes, please.
Yeah, like you mentioned that like we should not hesitate from throwing away our ideas or like bringing some major changes. So
Mhm.
like what we suggest, at what point of time should we start thinking in that direction?
Okay. So the easy answer to this, the short answer to this is that there is no set answer. Okay, like I can't tell you that every time you face this problem, think about throwing away your idea. But I can give you a sort of a framework, a way to think about it. Okay, and the way to think about it is, when you ask this question, when was the last time you did X? Okay, you will get a bunch of answers there, a bunch of categories actually. One of the categories is, what I did this 6 months ago. Okay, and you keep going to people over and over again, and you find out that the frequency the frequency of these people doing that action that you're going to improve is very low. Okay, so you're basically solving a problem for a customer who may have the problem, but it's not a frequent problem. If it's not a frequent problem, it's very likely that you will not be able to validate your idea fast. Okay, so this is one of the signals that you may be in the wrong direction. Okay, but this is also a signal that you may be asking the wrong person. So you may want to go and change the customer profile that you're talking to. Okay, so you may want to, for example, with Lightcat, we started off by saying that we will go to marketing teams and say, do you want to use a product like this? And we didn't ask the product. Basically, we asked, when was the last time you did, blah 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 blah. And marketing teams actually, interestingly, said yes, the last week, this week, whatever. We keep doing it all the time, it doesn't work, and so we might be willing to use your product. But after some time, we realized that these were the wrong people. Okay, and that they already have too many tools in the market, and they're so fatigued with using tools that they don't want another one. Okay, so we changed our so this is the last update that AIC would have. The last time we were doing it, it was for growth teams, but then we changed our approach. We said, let's go to product teams. So our product problem remained the same that we were solving. Our product remained the same. We changed the market. Okay, but if the second market also had told me that it's important for me, and and if they had not used it, I'd have totally thrown it away. Okay, but it didn't, because the moment I went to product teams, they literally jumped on it. Okay, so I was like, okay, we are onto something. So every time you face a friction, okay, it's a good idea to ask yourself whether to persevere or to throw away. Okay, generally you should err on the side of perseverance. Okay, that's a general advice, so that you don't throw away things too easily. Okay, but if you have overcome the urge to change your concept 4 or 5 times in a row, that is actually a good point to start asking yourself, what is it that I'm doing wrong? Is the market wrong? Is the product wrong? Is the whole concept wrong? Okay, I hope that answers your question, Tarandeep.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you. I see a bunch of chats over here. Okay, all right, so sorry. I'm okay. Mm. All right. So the first three I'll ignore for the moment. Okay. Now you have the video. I hope you're able to listen to me. If not, please interrupt. I'm not looking at the chat very frequently. The PPT, yes, I will share it right after this talk. I'll be sharing this PPT in a tweet. I'll share the link with you as well. You guys can go and take a look at it and download it from there. And finally, how to evaluate the suggestion by different startup and business people. Okay, Shubham, interesting question. This is a question that kills a lot of startups, and again, like most startup questions, not an obvious answer, but you have to first understand who are these different startup and business people who are giving you advice. Okay, so this is super important because when you go and ask for startup advice, most of the people that you will speak with will have some opinion. Okay, everyone loves to have opinions. Okay, first you have to understand that person. Okay, so let me give an example. So I keep talking to startups a lot. I take advice from other startups a lot. Okay, some of my advice comes from entrepreneurs who have sold their products to Indian market. Okay, some of my advice comes from entrepreneurs who have sold their products to the US market. Okay, my product is mainly built for cutting edge tech companies, which means that my primary market is US and secondary market is India. Okay, now if I dig a little deeper into the way these people look at the give advice, the people who have sold their product in the Indian market have a very different approach to problem solving than the people who have sold it in the US, because the two markets are very different. Okay, so if I start to take advice from someone who's selling in India and start to apply to my product, I will fail because that advice may not be relevant to the US market. Okay, this is one example of a person and advice not fitting to your startup. So you have to be very careful about that. Who is this person? Is he an entrepreneur, investor, whatever, right? Take the advice of people who are very close to the kind of person you are and the kind of startup you're building. Okay, even if the other person seems very super successful, okay, you may want to not take their advice if they are successful in a startup domain which is not very close to yours. Okay, so for example, let us take Mark Zuckerberg's advice. Okay, move fast and break things. Great advice. So many people follow this. Okay, does not apply to my market to a great extent. Okay, so if my product is breaking things, so I'll tell you what my product does. My product basically helps you. It's a product management tool. Okay, which basically helps you record all of your ideas. Okay, the knowledge base that I'll talk about later. It helps you cover all of that. It helps you record the features, and then it helps you ship those features. So you need a place where you record all the features. It's a project management tool sort of thing for product teams. Okay, now if there are bugs in my system, that will sometimes mean that the notes that you took got lost. Okay, you wrote notes, you shared it with your team, and now the note is lost. Okay, if it will happen once with you, and if you spend 3 hours writing that note, writing that document, or product requirement document or PRD, etc., and if you lost it because of me, you will turn off my product and you will never use it. Okay, so for Facebook it was okay to break things because if I don't see a photo or a video at once, it's fine, I don't care. But for a software that is serving businesses, breaking things is a very serious offense. Okay, so I can't take even Mark Zuckerberg's advice directly at the face of it for my product, right? And he's one of the most successful entrepreneurs out there, right? So that's what I mean. When you take advice, be very careful about who you are taking it from and what is the context of that advice. Okay. One question was, yes.
So there is one more question. When
Mhm.
you spoke about Zoom, is
Mhm.
it possible for non-technology person to start a startup which is only technology startup?
Yeah, I was just going to answer that. I think that's the question I read. Yeah, Suraj, right?
Yes.
Right. So Suraj Naik, yeah, that is a controversial take. Okay, the thing is that there have been many non-technical people who have started technology companies. Okay, so you may have known of a company called HubSpot, multi-billion-dollar company, started a whole new field of inbound marketing. If I'm not wrong, I believe Dharmesh Shah wasn't a technologist. Okay, Case Metrics was started by again so Indian folks in Valley, Hiten Shah and Neil Patel, not techies, marketers. Okay, likewise, a bunch of startups have been created by non-tech people. Okay, but here's the important bit. Okay, um, I'll assume you are non-tech if you cannot write code, which is fine. Okay, but if you are a non-tech person who doesn't understand technology or doesn't use new products, so you have to be one of these things. Either you have to be a great engineer or you have to be a great user of products. Okay, what I mean by great user of products is that so whenever you use a product, if you are kind of person who would dig deeper in how this product functions, why it functions this way, it could be about design. Okay, it could be about the features that the product has, it could be about marketing, it could be one of those things that are related to that product. Okay, it is fine. Okay, you can still do a startup. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that if you're not a tech person, you are a bit at a disadvantage, but you can very easily make up for it by being a great product person who basically understands either design very well, or customers very well, or marketing very well, or sales very well. Okay, one of the functions you must be very good at. Okay, second bit is that you should still have a capability to speak with engineers and be able to tell if somebody is bullshitting you. Okay, or you should be able to get a great tech co-founder. Okay, so if you do not have a tech co-founder, then and you do not know how to speak with engineers and how to tell them what to build, you will take your concept, you will go to some people, maybe your friends, maybe maybe a third party agency, give them money or give them some equity and they will do something. A lot of times you will not know, but they would be bullshitting you. And I don't mean purposefully. A lot of times people don't bullshit you on purpose. Okay, a lot of times what happens is that they failed to do something correctly. Okay, and they will actually be convincing even themselves. Okay, that I did it this way because of XYZ reasons. Okay, so I built a feature. I took 3 weeks to build it. Even though it could have been done in 2 days, but I did 20 things in that feature. That may or may not have been needed. Right? If you cannot judge that, you won't be able to tell that person, hey, you know what? I don't need those 19 other features, sub features inside this feature. Just build one thing and give it to me tomorrow. Okay. If you don't know technology at all, it will be hard for you to tell whether it will take 2 days or whether it will take 2 months. Okay. So those things will become a challenge. So either you get a great tech co-founder, or you be so good at one of those other things, which you guys are students, so you can still.
130.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I think that was just a glitch.
A glitch, background noise. All right, cool. So the idea here is that you have to get good at one of the things that are critical to your product. You can totally be a non-tech person. Do know, however, that you should be able to speak with engineers. Okay. All right. So we'll take the rest of the questions towards the end, if that is okay. There's nothing. So I'll continue now. Okay. I was at this build a knowledge base. Very important point. Okay. I'll come to the topic of Zettelkasten in a moment. The first thing is write everything down. Okay. There's so many good writing tools in the market. You can write in Google Docs, Mac Notes if you use a MacBook. You can use Notion. You can actually use my product Lightcat, which is built around this. Okay. The idea of writing everything down isn't just scribbling a note. Okay. The idea of writing everything down is to be able to build a knowledge base. How do you build a knowledge base? So let's think for a moment about how you actually think, how you learn. Okay. When you learn a topic, you learn some of the concepts of the topic, you ingest, your brain consumes that topic completely, but the way you reach in your memory, the way you reach out to that topic is via some hooks. Okay. It works a lot like Google search. You have a search term. Okay. You have some tags for the topic. So let's say about startup marketing or whatever, right? So if you generally ask me, tell me something new, I'll have nothing. But if you tell me something about startup marketing, the moment I hear the word startup marketing, I'll do an internal search inside my own head. I'll try to pull out all the things that I know about startup marketing. I'll prioritize them and I'll give it to you. Okay, that's how we think. When we take notes, there's a scientific method of taking notes, and it's called Zettelkasten. It has become super popular with, in fact, with students. So a huge bunch of my audience are students from universities across US and interestingly Afghanistan, 2 countries. I don't know why why that is, but it's not designed for students. It's designed for entrepreneurs though. But the idea of Zettelkasten it's an old idea. It started in the year, I believe, 1965 or something like that, 60s, sometime in 60s. A great it's a German word. A great German scholar started this term. This term basically means that you do not store your notes in a hierarchical manner. So it's not a folder that contains a folder that contains your notes, then another folder contains notes. Okay. Zettelkasten means that all of your notes are connected to each other via tags. Okay. So I read a blog. Okay. And let us say I write everything down, meaning I copy paste that blog or a segment of that blog, a paragraph from that blog into my notes. Okay. Then I don't leave it at that. I add tags to it. I will say this blog is about startup marketing. This blog is about product development. This blog is written by Hitin Shah. This blog is a case study. This blog talks about Zoom. Okay, so 5 or 6 such tags I have added to that particular blog. Okay. Now later, when I want to figure out, okay, what did Zoom do? I will click on Zoom as a tag or whatever. I'll search for Zoom tag and I'll find everything I've ever written or collected about Zoom. Okay. Likewise, the same thing will happen, and this particular blog will show up because it has a tag called Zoom. Likewise, if I search for startup marketing, I will find this blog again because this also contains a tag called startup marketing, right? So writing everything down is important that way. Why it is relevant to you guys, why it is relevant to product development, is because when you ask questions to people, when was the last time you did X, okay, you will get a lot of answers which will be which will have some values across different dimensions. So one of the dimensions is frequency that I mentioned, that people said I use it once in 6 months, or they say I use it like, you know, every hour. Okay, that's frequency. So you will say, you will put a tag on frequency, like every daily usage or, you know, monthly usage or whatever on that particular customer interview. Then there's another dimension that talks about how important is that problem for them, not the solution, not your product, the problem, right? So the person will say, you know what, this is so important that, you know, I do 20 things to solve this. Or the person might say, you know what, it's not that important, though I do it every day, but it's, you know, even if it does not work well, it's fine. So like Facebook or WhatsApp, right? If it doesn't work, you know, someday it's fine for most of us, right? But we do it every day, right? So you will write another, you'll put another tag saying hash, you know, super important, hash not very important, whatever, right? Then you will add other hashes over there or other tags over there, which basically talk about who this person is, right? So this person is student, or this person is a CEO of a company, or this person is whatever, right? So you will put all of those tags over there with every single note that you write down. Okay. Now what happens is that after you have taken 10 to 15 such customer interviews, or you have collected data from reading blogs, or you have done comparative research, okay, only at 10 to 15 such well annotated notes, you will have already built a knowledge base, and it will be easy for you to pull out a pattern. Okay, so you will search at some point of time, give me all the notes when I spoke with a student, okay, and let me see what it looks like. And then I will find out like 20 notes. Okay, I spoke with 20 students, most of these, and then I will look at the other tags that these notes have. Okay, and then I will see, okay, most of the students seem to say that they use this product, you know, once in 6 months, or they have this problem once in 6 months. Okay, maybe students are not my market, right? And so on and so forth. So I'm giving you a very base example, but the point is that all of that you do in building a startup is about building up a knowledge about the market, building up a knowledge about the customers, and then taking decisions on the basis of that. So a skill of building a knowledge base and using the right tooling for it is like super critical. This is not a mainstream idea yet. Okay, so you will not find a lot of blogs on how to build a knowledge base. Okay, therefore take down this word, search for Zettelkasten, okay, whenever you have time, and try and see how Zettelkasten can be applied. Okay, there's a tool called Rome Research, a very good tool for students and researchers, by the way. ROAM Research. Second one, second important bit is problem is the mother of invention. What I mean by this is that you asked these questions, you know, when was the last time you did this? Then you build a knowledge base. Okay. Now the thing is that how do you take out features from that knowledge base or pull a product out of that knowledge? Okay. Knowledge is fine. Everyone has knowledge now. Okay. You have noted it down, hopefully. And then you want to pull out a product. Okay. So there are two ways of building a product. One way is that you think of a product on your own. The other one is that you let the market pull the product out of your knowledge. Okay. To do that, you build a knowledge base, and then you study that knowledge base, and then you say, you know what, let me look at it and let me see if it is already pointing in the right direction. Okay. Now I'm going to go a little bit deeper into how to do that. Okay. So the way to do that is, first you need to write down the problems and high level solutions. I'll quickly give you this quick sneak peek into how I do this. Okay. So this is a thoughts on Lightcat. It is a very old scribble. We call it scribble inside Lightcat, which I sort of keep writing, keep adding stuff to it. Okay. So, and there are a bunch of those. So I have written this down as biggest problems for product managers. Okay. And this has come out of the NPM product manager or product head interviews. Okay. So I've written down these top ideas over here. Okay. Now what I do here is that first I write down not low level solutions. Okay. I believe one moment, low level solutions. Yeah. Some of these also mention a fear or something like that, biggest related fear. Okay. and so on. Okay, so my goal here is to write the largest problems. This is easy. Okay, second slightly harder part is to write a high level solution. So I don't know if there is a segment here in this or is there somewhere else. Let me just quickly look at this. No, I have not written a high level solution here, but let me just quickly write this down. Let us say high level solutions. One moment. High level solutions. Okay, what I mean by high level solutions is a sentence of this form. Okay,
Utkarsh, sorry to interrupt you again. So, were you showing some whiteboard or something like that?
I will reshare. I think there was a problem with sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, are you able to see the screen again?
Yes. Again, the same presentation.
Yeah, now is
Okay.
it
Now,
visible?
yeah.
Right.
Now it is visible.
So yeah, I wanted to give a sneak peek into thoughts on Lightcat. This is my scribble, my note that I've written inside my own product. Okay, so how we do, and this is what I meant by scratching your own itch. Okay, so here I have written down, if you can see, a bunch of biggest problems for product managers. Okay, so the top problem, for example, I've written is ensuring that the right feature set has been prioritized. Okay, this is a huge problem that people building products have. Okay, customers will not adopt this feature or this product, or I have selected the wrong feature set to build in the first place. Okay, biggest fear, biggest problem. Okay, so to build a product to solve this problem, I will actually not think about the product first. I will not think about features. I will not think about what I want to build. I will think of a high level solution. Okay, a high level solution will be, I will try to fill in a sentence. The sentence will be, if you are, okay, afraid that, okay, now this is a fear. Okay, if you're afraid of this, okay, then your solution should be to, okay, and a high level solution will be nothing to do with your product. Okay, it could be solved in multiple different ways. Okay, so that is the importance about high level. It's a 10,000-foot view solution. So if you're afraid that customers will not adopt whatever your feature or your product, okay, you should not be able to, your solution is, or should be to, is one, prioritize your features well. Now it has nothing to do with my product, right? You can do this in actual Excel sheet. You can do this in your head if you're super intelligent, correct? But the point is that this is a high level solution. It tells me that feature prioritization could be a solution. Okay, and this is just me thinking right now. I have not validated this. Okay, write a knowledge base. Okay, things like this. Okay, speak with customers, and so on. So I'll write like 5-6 of these ideas over here. These are high level solutions, nothing to do with my product, nothing to do with the solution I've thought. This can be solved in any way, right? And then I will try and take this and validate this with the ongoing customer interviews. Okay, so what I'll do is, once I've written this, next time I speak with the customer, I'll say, so I will not ask when was the last time you had this fear. Now I'll go one level deeper and I'll say, when was the last time you tried to prioritize your features? Do you prioritize your features? Okay, do you do this? Do you write a knowledge base? Do you have a problem with writing a knowledge base? So I will figure out that some product managers will say, you know what, I don't have a problem with the knowledge base. I'm really good at it. Okay, but I do have problem with prioritization of my features. Okay, then I will try to dig deeper here. What are the problems here? So I've gotten from that to a high level solution. Okay, that's what I mean by a high level solution. So here what is happening is, a high level solution is the problem giving me a pointer to a solution, right? It's me pulling out something from the knowledge base bit by bit. This is level 1. In level 2, again I go back and ask customers about the problems they face about this, and then I go a level deeper here. Okay, and gradually I'll get to a low level solution, right? And which will basically be my features. Okay? So you need to write down the high level solutions. Then you talk to them about the high level solutions and ask them about the problems they face on those, right? And then you want to figure out what is the value of those problems. Okay, why it is important is this. So I did this actually. I have had people tell me that knowledge base is not a big problem. We write it in Google Docs. Okay, and then I ask them, how many docs do you have? They will tell me, okay, like 150 documents now. Okay, Then I'll be like, okay, so how does your team find documents? Does it take time? So he'll be like, no, it does not take time. You know what? I copy the link of that document and I paste it in the software that they use. I'm like, okay, really? You do this every single time you release a feature or you plan a feature? And they would say, yeah, I do it every single time. Okay. How long does it take you to do that? Well, for every feature, it takes me about 15-20 minutes to copy paste, documents from one place to another. Okay, good. So, and how many times do you do this in a week? Well, we plan, we do this in a fortnight. Every fortnight, we work on 15-20 features, maybe. So I do this, like 120 minutes, 2 hours every week. Okay. Now I know that the customer thinks that he doesn't have a problem because he's very habituated to doing it in a certain way. Okay. But he is already wasting 2 hours doing this. Okay. Now it's a risky thing for me to solve for that problem because customer may not realize it's a problem. Okay. So they may not buy my software, may not pay for it. But I do know that if I save those 2 hours for them, they might start to use my product. Right. So that is the thing about value of the problem. I'm not here asking what the customer thinks about the value of the problem. I'm asking him or her about how frequently they do it, right? And how much time do they spend? How much money do they spend? Okay. And then I'm not going into the details of that, but you can go deeper and deeper into it and ask how do other people perceive this problem in your organization and so on. So you will get a 360-degree view of the problem. You will get to know about frequency, very important. You'll get to know about the cost in terms of the time they spend, in terms of the money they spend. You can think about, you can ask about the complexity, right? How much problematic it is to do that. Okay, if it is more problematic, they will tend to do this lesser and lesser. And finally, third level is the low level solutions that I mentioned. Okay, in the low level solutions, and this is not like it's not like you will do this one loop. Okay, you do that, you write high level solution, you immediately think of some low level solutions, write them down, go back to customers, ask about this, again add more stuff to this. So you see that this keeps getting longer and longer and longer. Okay, so what you do this is you will keep writing those low level solutions on the basis of the high level solutions you wrote. Okay, and you keep building those features as you keep doing customer interviews. Okay, you don't, these two are not isolated processes. Okay, keep building, keep shipping, keep asking questions. Second thing, be very, very aware of what are the types of features you're building. Okay, now if you speak with most startups that are selling to the Indian market, I'm talking about the B2B startups, not the B2C. Okay, B2B softwares typically selling to Indian market are sort of, they're copied from successful products across the world, which means that they can actually straight away look at the features that these other people have built and build those features, make it cheaper, and it works. It's great. We have billion-dollar companies built that way. If you're doing that, well and good. Okay, you can ignore this slide. If you're not doing that, if you're building a B2C product in India, so B2C products which work for the world may not work for India. Okay, so if you're either building a B2C product for India, or you are building a B2B product for the world, okay, or a B2C product for the world, okay, in all of these three cases, this slide is very important. So every time you think about a low-level solution, okay, which is basically a feature that you have thought about, think about whether it is a basic feature that is needed for someone to use your software, or is it an experiment? Okay, so the way to think about that is you score that particular feature on speed versus depth. Okay, by speed I mean is how fast it will take you to build it, and this is where it relates to the point of being able to understand how engineers build products. You may not be an engineer, it is fine, but you should be able to tell that this feature, if I break it down further, it seems to be a fairly complex thing and will take a fair amount of time to build. And then you ask an engineer and he says, yeah, this will take like 6 months to build. You will say, okay, fine, this is a very slow. On the speed score is, let us say, 1 on a scale of 5. Okay, and depth is how much information you have, how much knowledge you have on that feature, okay, on whether people need it. Okay, if you have a lot of knowledge on that, which means that this is very likely a copied feature. There is somebody somewhere has already built it. Okay, in that scenario, it becomes a basic thing. Okay, so it is slow to build. It needs to be built right. Okay, every customer knows how to use it. Every customer is already expecting it. You also know how that feature should function. The depth is also high. Speed is slow. It's a basic feature. Okay, experiments are those features which people do not expect. Okay, experiments are features that you do not know whether your customers will need, whether they want, and so on and so forth, right? In that scenario, you do not have high depth, you have low depth. Okay, you do not know exactly what that feature should contain. In an early startup scenario, like 80% or 70% of your features should be experiments. Okay, because you keep building small things and you keep testing the market. Okay, but if you have low depth, then you should have high speed. Okay, so if you do not know what this feature should contain, just build whatever shit you think could work, ship it, get customers to use it, see whether they're actually using it, and then come back and improve. Okay, so if you have low depth, you must have high speed. Okay, if you have low speed, you must have high depth. Okay, you can't have low speed and low depth. That will be stupid, which means I'm building a feature which I do not know how it should work, and I'm building it slowly. Okay, and having high speed and high depth is very hard. Like high depth would mean a feature has many sub features, and you're able to build it in one day. Not possible. Okay, so that's let's not even go there. So you should have at least one of these. So be very careful when you're planning your product. Okay, second bit is bucketing your features into these three categories. Okay, billables are the features for which people will pay you. These are usually boring, stupid, dumb, silly things. Okay, for example, people who, so I am in Lightcare, for example, I have lots of fancy features that I'm planning or sort of have built. But people who want to pay me are actually not paying me for any of those fancy features. They're paying me for something very basic, like planning a roadmap. It's a boring thing. Okay, it's a very time-consuming, boring thing. Any software in the world can build it. Okay, I have very little differentiator there right now, but people are willing to pay for that feature. Okay, that feature is not something that will get me new customers, but it is a billable feature. Okay, usually these are silly, stupid, run-of-the-mill features, not boring, in technical jargon. The second type of feature is the ones which have been demanded by your customers. So some of your customers will demand, can you do this, can you do that, whatever, right? These are demanded features. And third one are delighters. Delighters are features which are a lot like experiments. These people have never expected. They have never seen anything like it. Okay, they do not know what to expect from that feature. And if you build it, it will be a fancy thing. Okay, so delighter features, what they do is that when you talk about it on your website and when you talk about it, in multiple places, people will become curious. Okay, they will jump on your product and they will want to try it. Okay, so delighters are very good for bringing people in. Okay, demanded features are very good to retain, because you get to tell your customers, hey, you know what, all of you wanted this particular feature, we have built it out. They feel that they are sort of co-building the product with you. And billables are the ones that keep paying the bills. Okay, so you have to be aware that you should not get stuck in doing only one of those types of features over a long period of time. In one sprint, in 15 days, you can make all delighters, it's fine. But over a period of 6 months, you should do a good sort of coverage of all three. Okay. Finally, you have, so going back, you have written down your solutions, the features that you came up with. Okay, you have classified them. Now is the time to decide which features do I want to build, which are the features that I am going to throw out. Okay, this is where the knowledge base comes into picture. Remember, in the knowledge base, the first thing I talked about was write down the problems that your customers face and the value of those problems. Okay, now create these problems could be literally one full sentences. Okay, so my problem here is customers will not adopt this feature is a fear of my customer. Okay, fine. So I will write, so when you do this, when you come to this step, okay, you create something called a value map. Okay, you create a value map by writing a bunch of single 1 or 2 words, which basically determine what is the value that the customer is seeking. Okay, which means for this problem, the fear that customers will not adopt your feature. Okay, the value that I will write is fear of adoption. Now, fear of adoption sounds weird. It should be fear of lack of adoption, but I want to keep it small. I will know what it means. My team will know what it means. So I will write this down as fear of adoption is one value. Okay. If I solve the fear of adoption for customers, they're likely to use it. Okay. Similarly, I will write other such problems in terms of the value that customers want to get. Okay. Second one, I'll show you another example. Second one is ensuring that developers have complete specs. Okay. Ensuring that developers have complete specs. Okay. So spec completion. Okay. I can also make it as lack of chaos during development. Okay. But spec completion is one thing. Okay. It's in fact, I should just use this simple word, spec completion, can fit into a table. Okay. So likewise, I will write down a bunch of, A, S, D, F, lots and lots of such features, values that I think the customers are seeking. Okay. Then every time I write down a feature, sorry, we are at value map. Every time I write down a feature, I will score that feature on a customer value. Okay, so I'll show you how I do that inside my product. You can do this in an Excel sheet also. Okay, you can also use Lightcat. By the way, it is free for a lot of use cases. For you guys, it will be free. But if you don't want to use a new product, go into an Excel sheet. Okay, create a table, write down these things. Okay, and make a table that looks a little bit like this. Okay, these are user stories. Write down all the features basically that you want. So this is a feature actually from a roadmap. This is the feature that people pay for that I was talking about. Okay? And I will write down different types of values that I wrote over here. Sorry, different types of values. Okay, write down as names of the columns. Okay, so you will write down fear of adoption, fear 1, fear 2, fear 3. Okay, and then score your features on these fears. Okay, once you have scored these features on these fears, you will know which of the features are scored the highest on most of the fears. Okay, or most of the values. Okay, so this is not a totally new idea. Value map as a concept has been used by companies in other industries earlier. It is now becoming popular in product companies as well, in software as well. Okay, so for example, a dead simple example of this is an automobile, a car. Okay, car manufacturers write a bunch of features, a bunch of values, sorry, that the customers want. Bunch of values could be security, comfort, how it looks, the price, blah blah blah. Lots and lots of those values. Okay, and for a given model, they will rate that model on sort of different values. Okay, and they will want to see which are the values that their customers want to be able to understand which customer segment should they go after. Okay, overly simplistic, they do tons of other market research stuff, but in a simple manner you can very easily do this. Just write down the values that you think your customers want and score the features that you came up with on each of these values. Okay, that will basically help you build a value map. Second one is cost factors. For you guys, early stage startups, cost is very limited. Usually it is in the terms of number of hours that you spent building something or researching something. Okay, so you can write it simply here. I have these two, complexity and effort. Okay, so complexity, you can write whatever 1, 2, 3 effort man hours. I can write like 5 hours for this and 10 hours for this. The moment you put hours, you should start to get a score. Whatever, 2 hours for this, 0.5 for this, whatever. And then eventually you basically come back and say, okay, so here are my features. The features having the maximum value and the lowest cost factors are the ones that I want to build first. Okay, value map basically comes out of your knowledge base, the customer interviews that you have done. So now here's the good bit. The interview that you did gave you the problems which go into the value map. Okay, then you sat down and brainstormed and wrote high level solutions, right, which gave you the features. So literally after 5, 6 customer interviews, you will have a basic MVP in your mind already. Okay, if you follow the framework that I'm talking about. Write down the features for each feature, write down the value maps for each feature, score that feature on the value, write down the cost factors and prioritize. Okay, prioritizing is simple. Pick up the ones which has the maximum score. Okay, you can do this in Excel. The formula is very simple. All the revenues, all the value factors minus all the whatever cost factors, right, divided by man hours. Okay, so values minus cost, or it is in other words profit minus cost in some ways, right, divided by man hours. That will give you a score. Okay, multiply it by 100 or whatever to make it look good. Then once you have prioritized, you will get a prioritized list of everything that you have thought of. It may be like 30, 40, 50 ideas. You don't want to work on everything. You want to put a cutoff. Okay, that's why man hours are required. You will say that I will do a release in 1 week, or I will do a release in 2 weeks. Okay, and in those 2 weeks I have a total of 80 hours to work on this, or whatever, 150 hours to work on this. Okay, so you put a cutoff on 150 hours. You will say that I will only pick the features which will come in 150 hours. Usually you should keep a buffer. So if you have 150 hours, say that I will only pick up the features that can be done in half the time, 75 hours, because you will have to design and do a bunch of other things, right? So 70 hours, 75 hours, I will only pick those features and I will move them to a roadmap. So a roadmap should look like this. A roadmap, I can do this in Excel. All the features that you have written over here, okay, right? Just copy paste them into a column inside Excel sheet or inside Lightcat, wherever you want, right? And those become the list of things that you want to do over the next week. Okay, so that way you are basically committing to a roadmap. Okay, it's super important even if you are one person running a company. Okay, because you will have a bunch of other things. You will have customer interviews happening, you will have mentors talking to you, you have webinars like this which sometimes don't add any value, and so on and so forth. So write down the things that you want to accomplish in, like, let's say, next 2 weeks, okay, and commit to it. That is what you're going to build. Okay, you have taken that decision hopefully very carefully, because you have done customer interviews, you have thought about your own problems, right? From customer interviews you have pulled out the problems, from the knowledge base you have pulled out some features, right? You have scored it properly, right? And you have finally decided what you want to build. Okay, right. I'll stop again. Are there any questions?
Utkarsh, I had a question. So basically, it's from one of the new incubatee of ours. So how do you decide? How did you decide upon pricing of your product? So this should be the price of your product, which
Yeah.
customer should pay.
Yeah, I'll try and address that. Pricing is actually the hardest part of a startup. Uh, Pricing depends upon a bunch of factors. Okay, first try to look at, one is value based pricing. Okay, second one is cost based pricing. Okay, cost based pricing, let's not even get there. It's usually not very useful for software companies. I'm assuming the person asking this is a software company, right? Okay, I'll take it as a yes.
No. It's actually it's an edtech organization. It's not a product-based company, software company.
Hold on. When you say edtech, I'm assuming when edtech typically would mean education software, or is it a service company?
So we provide teaching services and
Okay,
online services. Basically, it's a service-based.
it's a service-based company. Okay, service-based company is relatively easier to price, because it's an older model. People have sort of cracked it very well so far. Typically, service-based models work on two factors. One is cost-based, which means that you must charge customers, 60%, 70% more than what is your own cost. Okay. And second way of doing pricing is you do market-based pricing, where you basically look at what people pay for similar services. Okay, so look at just those two things, and I think you should be able to get to a pricing fairly easily. Okay, if you were running a product company, you would also have to look at basically the problem that you are solving for the customer and how valuable it is. And even then you may or may not know what is the right pricing, so you really have to iterate, you have to experiment with pricing. Okay, but if you're a service company, I'd say typically look at the market. Okay, the easiest way is to look at the market. See, so what kind of service business, what kind of service do you provide, Vivek?
So yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So basically, we provide online tutoring services and mentoring basically. So
Okay.
that is what.
So and your customers, so to speak, would be students studying what exactly?
Correct. In classes 8 to 12, students studying in classes 8 to 12. So we provide courses for science, humanities, and commerce.
Got it. Brilliant. So these students will sign up to your service, and a tutor will go online and basically teach them a particular subject.
Correct.
Right. So in that case, you basically want to look at how much these students already pay for tutoring outside of your platform. Okay. So do they do a monthly pricing, or do they do a pricing? Innovation here could be a huge differentiating factor. So most of the time, these students, if they take tutoring outside of your platform, they will have to take a monthly tutoring. You rarely, I'm not in touch with this market right now, but typically you don't get teachers for an hourly tutoring session. Correct. So a parent will have to pay, I don't know, 2,000 rupees a month or whatever, 5,000 rupees a month to a particular tutor to come, thrice a week and give this, child a tutoring session. Right. On the other hand, what you can do is you can make it on-demand thing, right? So if I'm a student and I have a problem in a particular topic, I could register with you and I could pay you only for that topic. Okay, and you could give me 3 sessions on that topic. You could charge me more than what a typical session charges. Okay, so you could charge me, let us say, 400 rupees per session, right? Let us say hypothetically, I'm still paying only 1,200 rupees, and I'm not logged into a monthly pricing, right? So that could be one way, right? Companies want to move towards a subscription pricing because it's it helps you predict your own business. But I would, if I were you, I would actually look at how these students currently pay. Okay, I will want to make sure that they are net paying less than they were paying otherwise, or maybe maybe a similar amount, and I'm able to retain and get them to come and pay me over and over again. So I would want to optimize for retention over one-time higher prices. Okay. Answers your question, Vivek?
Right. Yeah.
Great. All right. So we'll carry on from here. We're nearly towards the end. So I will open it up for all questions from this point onwards. So the final bit and the most important bit is deliver an MVP fast and validated. Okay. The first step of doing an MVP is to be able to make sure. So MVP is all about being able to just put something out in front of your customers, right? So in case of Vivek, for example, a very simple MVP would be, and I'm sure that he's already done that, would simply be a website, okay, where people will fill in a form and register, okay, and that is it. That form could actually store data inside a Google Sheet for all he cares, right? And he will promote that page and get people to sign up, and then take it from there, and then try and understand what is it that these people really need, and how can he get them to, how can he add value to them, and how can he get them to pay more. Okay, so that way an MVP is nothing but a small simple landing page. Okay, first version. Now if Vivek had to go from this and he wanted to say that, what, with tutoring, with service model, I can handle 300 students in a month, okay, but I want to handle 300,000 students in a month, and I can't do that in a service model, so let me build a product. Okay, then he will have to build a software, but the first step of even that is just building a simple landing page. And in landing page, your goal is to get the people to sign up. Okay, this is true for software as well. You want the people to take it the very next action that you want them to take. The way to do that is to think about the MAT formula. This is not my formula. It's a very well established thing, and some of you might already know it. People take an action when there is a confluence of these three things: motivation to take that action, ability to take that action, and a trigger which gets them to take that action. Like let's take an example of online purchase. Okay, so I want new pair of shoes. Okay, I have a motivation. Fine. Ability. Okay, so the companies that first became online stores reduced the ability. Okay, which means that without online commerce, I had to go to a shop and purchase a pair of shoes. What e-commerce did was make it easy, put it in my phone, I could click a button, so the ability was reduced, which means more and more people will start to do it. And third thing is a trigger. Okay, I may have been thinking about buying a pair of shoes over the last 10 days, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow, but I won't take that action psychological unless there's a psychological trigger. Okay, but this is an entire science. There are books after books written on this. Okay, the most popular book on this topic, this comes under behavioral design. Most popular book is this book called Hooked, Hooked. Take a look at it. You can download it probably. It talks in detail about triggers. Triggers could be internal or external. I'll not get into the depth of it right now, but your goal is to be able to be present when your customer's trigger is present. Okay, so let us take an easier example. In case of online tutoring, a trigger is when exams are nearing. Okay, so 3 months before the exam, and I'm sure Vivek would have noticed this pattern that when exams are nearing, his signups would go up like crazily skyrocket. And all of us know the answer to that. Why that happens is because people don't study the entire year. You all know this, right? And when the exam happens, everyone wants to study, and you realize what is missing, what is not, and you want to sort of get into this, right? So that is a time when the maximum study happens, and that is the trigger. Okay, so if Vivek was to sort of monetize his business even more, what he would do is he would start doing marketing activities around the time of the trigger, which means 3 months before the exam, he would start to do ads. Okay, rest of the time he does not do ads. Ads do not pay. Ads make you spend money, they don't convert well, whatever, lots of problems. 3 months before the exams, when he knows people will start to sign up, he could start doing ads, and he could actually see a positive ROI on even Google ads at that point in time. Okay, so you have to be present in front of your customer when the trigger is present. Okay, I think people have commented. I'll just take a look at this. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, great. So that's one. Build version 0.1, I've already covered this. This is usually a website or a landing page. And third one is talk to users. So I didn't mean talk to users before you build it. I actually meant talk to users after you build your first version. Okay, so good businesses keep talking to users, okay, no matter what. And when I say talk, I literally mean go and talk to them, like get on a phone call. And all of us are guilty of not doing it enough. I am guilty of it, of not doing it enough. I know that. But the greatest of businesses are usually built when they keep talking. Okay, And I get this from startups a lot of times. What should I talk to customers? What people are using my product to an extent, and I'm sort of happy. I have a roadmap planned. I know what I want to build. Talking to users is not going to change that. My answer to that is it doesn't matter. Just go talk to your users. Okay. What happens is that you will not have a plan to change your roadmap. You will not have a plan to do anything at all. Okay. But you will just speak with them and you'll be like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? You're not talking about your product. Okay. You're talking about their problem. Okay. People don't want to talk to you about your product. They want to talk about their problems. So you will talk to them about their problems and they will be like, hey, you know what? I have this problem, that problem. And it will start to, you will have multiple light bulb moments when you talk to you. So if you're able to talk to 5 to 10 of your potential users or real users in a week, your roadmap will take a whole different direction or whole different dimension than it would have otherwise taken. Okay, so just talk. You don't have to have an agenda. You don't need a topic. Just talk to them about their problems. Of course, in the context of the solution that you're offering. Okay, and this is just I've kept just one slide on post-COVID scenario because you guys are students right now. You're starting your careers. The whole world is going to be post-COVID for you, right? Your whole career is going to be post-COVID. So the most important things were the fundamentals of doing stuff. Okay, the change that will happen, I believe, post-COVID is that product management will become the new sales. What I mean is that product management so far has been a cost center. Okay, so any of you, if you are thinking that you will do a startup now or you will join a startup as a product manager later, this will be super important for you. So far, product managers have been mostly responsible for creating a product and releasing it in the market, or creating a feature and releasing it in the market. So they were considered a cost center. Okay, about 1.5 years ago, trends started to change, and product managers started to get involved with retention or growth and stuff like that. Okay, now with COVID, what is happening is that companies are cutting down on their sales and marketing expenditures. Okay, mostly marketing expenditures, and marketing budgets are sort of getting reallocated on product. Okay, why that is happening, it's besides the points, beyond the scope right now, but that basically means that they are starting to expect product managers to deliver outcomes, not just a product. An outcome is more users, more revenue. Okay, so as a result of more budget for product management, there is going to be more PM jobs. Okay, product managers, as PM stands for product manager here. PMs are starting to get targets for retention and stuff like that. Okay, this is a very new trend, PM with targets, but this will sort of I believe that this will sort of kick in much more. Okay, the remaining 2 points are not relevant for you right now, but the point here is that you need to be able to measure the outcome of the product that you have created. Okay, and that's relevant for you as a startup as well. Outcome measurement is all about knowledge base. So you've done a bunch of things, you have written down a bunch of features. For each feature, you need to write down what was the impact it had. Okay, and you keep adding that impact to your knowledge base, so that you, over a period of time, when you look back, you know what creates value for you and what does not. Okay, but for very early stage startups, you don't need to be very structured about it. You can just write it inside a note. Okay, that's fine. This is a further reading section. I'll not read this out for you. You can take a look at it. This has a bunch of things over here. I have not written Ni Real over here, the book called Hooked. I will, so I keep tweeting about these things. If you want, you can follow me at this. Okay. I'm anyway going to tweet this particular presentation that I just shared with you along with, this particular slide, so that you will be able to download or, look at whatever you want. Okay. One of the best resources here is this thing called startupschool.org. I put it at number 8 is also because it's a huge repository of things. Okay, and it's very overwhelming, very hard to read everything. You don't need to read everything from here, but you should ideally read at least, these are all small articles. These two are mine actually. This is the Zettelkasten method that I mentioned, and these are Paul Graham's articles. You can just do a search Paul Graham ramen profitability on Google, you will get it. So take a look at these. Reading the first 7 will not take you more than a couple of hours. Reading this can take you months. Okay, so just take a quick look at all of the top ones. Whatever piques your interest or whatever you think is helpful, just read it. Okay, that's about it. I'm open to any questions that you may want to ask. More than happy to answer.
Utkarsh, Vivek this side again.
Yes, please.
So basically, I'm heading the sales in this edtech organization named Mission Ed, and today I'm joined by the CEO and the CSO, the Chief Strategy Officer. So basically, I had a couple of questions to ask you. So number one is, could you just tell me, since we are an early age startup, so we don't really have the proper budget allocated for marketing and all that. So how do we go about with the marketing and the sales without a budget? As in, we do have our own strategies, but how do we go about with that?
So it depends really a lot on your customers. What do your customers do and where do they hang? Okay. When you have limited budget, what works for me, I can tell you what works for me at the very least. What works for me is my target audience hangs out on a few forums that I know are relevant to them. I think in your case, one of the common forums would be Quora. Okay. Not sure, but if you're selling something in India, Quora is usually a very good place where everyone hangs out on Quora. And second one is probably Facebook. Okay. So so where I was getting was what works very well for me, and this works a lot for many startups, is that you start to add value to your customers where they hang out, okay, before they become your customers. What I mean is, let us say that you figure out, and I don't know if this happens for you, for your customers, for the students, but let us say your students hang out on some particular Facebook groups, okay. These Facebook, right? You go and become a member of that Facebook group, okay, and then you post content over there which is related to your solution and their problem and the context of the group. Okay, so let us say there is a group. Let me give you two examples. So one is a group where students actually go share, concepts or whatever, study group on Facebook. Okay, when you go to a study group on Facebook, you can actually post real content. Okay, do not post your entire content. You want them to sign up and get tutoring, but you may want to post a small presentation on, or just a single slide that actually talks about a particular concept. Okay, something that's a hook that tells them that you exist and that you can add value for them. Okay, so that is one type of marketing, and that works instantly. Okay, how it works instantly is anyone who sees that, a lot of people will get intrigued and will click on it and will land up on your site, and some of them will convert. Okay, now here you need to measure it very, very carefully. Okay, it's a whole different topic on how do you do that measurement. Okay, but there's a lot of online resources, you can check it out. You want to be able to answer this question from this particular group. What kind of content, when I post, results in the most X kind of customers? X means whatever is your goal. Okay, if your goal is revenue, you will say what kind of content results in the most revenue driving customers. Okay, if your goal was, let us say, just usage of your software, like in your case that's not true, but in my case, for example, that would be true, and so it would be for many other product companies. Then your X would be customers who use the product a lot. Okay, and so on and so forth. Right. Second example is a Facebook group of, again, people who are your target customers, but it is not about education. Okay, over there, let us say they just go hang out, talk about whatever popular TV stars or some sort of bullshit. Okay. Now, over there, you do not want to post learning content, because that is out of context and people will not look at it or ignore it, or you will become just a nuance or annoyance to them after some time. So in such places, you could post, for example, jokes related to exam stress. You have those memes or one-liner stuff, right? Which people could laugh at. It is connected to the solution you provide, okay, and it is relevant to the target audience, right? And it has the context of the group where you are posting. Okay, so it basically just boils down to communicating your concept to the customer in the right place, in the right way. Okay. Now, a lot of people will tell you, you could go ahead and recruit, this also could require budget. For example, if you said that I'll go ahead and recruit a marketer who would do that for me, I'd say don't do it right now. Ideally, your co-founders should do that, or chief sales or chief strategy should do that. Why? Because you guys will have a much better understanding of the market and the customers and your product, and you could actually take decisions much more than a junior marketing person who you'd be paying. Okay, one. A second thing that works, and this is a short-term solution. Okay, why short-term? Is that people will click on it, they will come to your site, and then that particular post will go down in the feed. No one will ever see it. Okay, so it will work for a day, and then you will have to post another feed. Okay, a long-term solution is writing a seminal piece on a topic that is very commonly searched. Okay, what I mean, I'll give you an example. You see this thing called what is a product roadmap and what is a hypothesis. Okay, these two are light cats on you. So bottom right corner over here, you will be able to see the link. Okay, these two are light cats on articles written by me and my team. Okay, now these two questions, what is a product roadmap and what is a hypothesis, are heavily searched Google search terms. Okay, and these two articles are fairly well written articles. Okay, still not seminal. I'll come to what seminal means, but they have started to show up on, I believe, 10th scoop page of Google search or wherever, and people have started to link back to this. Okay, so now what happens is, this took me, so this was written about 60 days back, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so after 60 days, from 40 to 60 days, after it was actually posted and promoted to multiple Facebook groups, to Hacker News, to a bunch of places, now I have started to get link backs. Okay, so now if I do not promote my website at all, even then I get a bunch of visitors on my site because of this article. Okay, this was done much after that, so it has still not gotten this kind of traffic. But what I mean is that when you write good quality stuff, it will not give you result today. So for short-term result, you do that Facebook group posting thing, right? But you will get tired after some time, right? Or you will have to recruit somebody to do it. So also start writing a great piece. Okay, you will not be able to write a great piece in one shot. Okay, so you will write a one article which is, let's say, 1,000 words, okay, on a particular topic that your audience does Google search on. Okay, and then you post it on Facebook groups, relevant Facebook groups. You get some traffic, fine. 3-4 days later, you go back and improve that article. Then you go back and you improve that article again. Okay, so after doing 10 iterations, your article will become better than anything out there on the internet on that topic. Okay, once that happens, people will start to link to this. Okay, once they start to link to this, you'll start to get traffic without asking for it. Okay, and if you did technical SEO right, and if it showed up on second, third page of Google, first page is hard, but for the right keywords, you can actually come on the first page as well. If you were able to come in Google search results, then your traffic spikes. You will start to get thousands of users every day, thousands of visitors every day without doing any single thing. And that will happen for, once you hit that threshold, that will keep happening for months after months after months. Okay, this pays a lot in the long term. And for short term, I told you the quick marketing thing that I mentioned. Right. There was another question. Let me just take that. Can you please explain the second point, build once again? Second point, build. I don't know which second point. It was by Deepali. Deepali, could you please elaborate on that question? MVP thing. Okay. Let me try and find out the MVP thing. Where was that? This is build an MVP fast. Build version 0.1. Okay, got it. Yeah. So the MVP slide, build version 0.1. What I mean by build here is that build some type of a minimum viable product where a potential customer can come and engage with you very fast. Okay. By build, I mean just put something together, put it up, put a website up, put a form up. Okay. And start to drive traffic towards it by doing the marketing things that I was just mentioning. Share it in the places where your audience hangs out. Okay, so once you do that, people will start to sign up. You will start to get some interaction, some engagement from customers. Then you try to talk to those customers or study their behavior inside your product, right? And you will get to know what you want to change. Okay, the idea here is just whatever you have taken from your previous steps, okay, whatever you have decided, the roadmap, etc., build some version in a few weeks, right, and drive some traffic towards it. Okay, your goal should be to drive 50 plus visitors every day on your site. In a week, you will have 250 people visiting it, and you will have enough data to start to optimize your entire flow. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. So I have a question. Like for my startup, I have generated a survey form, but I'm not able to get the ample amount of responses which I was expecting. So what should I do?
Yeah, so that happens all the time. What is your startup? Can you tell me the name? What do you do?
So I'm basically working where we can provide house service based startup where we can provide housemates to the people staying in urban areas where they're not familiar with the regional language. So I'm trying to put a platform where they can, like, without having the problem of the regional language, they can usually get by clicking a button and they'll get the service.
Okay, got it. And I'm assuming that this is geographically limited right now. It is probably in the area where you live or where you work, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
okay. Now then, what you will have to do, look, you're trying people in that area. You want very specifically those people to fill it out, correct? I mean, it won't work for you
Yes,
if
sir.
somebody in California filled out that form. So for you,
Yes,
the
sir.
online marketing doesn't matter here. Okay. If I were you, if I
Okay.
were doing this startup, I would actually literally go door to door. Okay. I'd go door to door and speak with the customers, and I'll not ask them to. Initially, I would not ask them to use my service. Okay. Initially, I would go there. I would say, you know what, I'm a university student and I'm doing a research on this. How do people get mails? Okay. And how satisfied they are, and whatever, right? So basically, my goal would be to go and speak with. So think about it the way political parties work, right? They're very hyper local, correct? They will literally go door to door and speak to you and ask you to cast vote for them, right? Once in 5 years, correct? For you also, you have to do it once, once or twice, and then once you've covered that area very well and you've got your business fine, you don't need to go there over and over again. You might want to, but you don't need to. So what I would do if I were you is that I would take a notepad, a pen, go to all of those households. Okay, tell them that I'm doing a research on how people. I'd want to make it a little bit about. So you have to think about a reason people should talk to you. Okay, if somebody comes to my
Okay.
home and says, hey, do you want a maid? I'll be very, very curious whether this person is a criminal. Okay. But if a person came to my home and said, I'm a student and I'm doing research about how people, get maids, I'll be like, maybe I can help this person, maybe not. I don't know. If a person came to my home and said, I'm a student and I am working on how you get a maid and also how maids make a living and how I could improve their lives. Okay. I'd be like, okay, maybe I'm gonna do something good. Maybe if this person does what they're saying, maybe a few people will get jobs. So maybe I'll be willing to help. Okay. So on and so forth, right? So your narrative basically makes a lot of difference upon what kind of response you get. Okay. So first you have to get your narrative right. It has to be something that your audience wants to hear, and you have to be genuine about it. I'm not suggesting that you lie about it, because if you lie, sooner or later people will know it, and once you're outed as a fraud, it doesn't work well in life. So never lie. Okay, create a vision that you think is close to your heart and something that is resonating with your customers as well. Okay, take that vision, go to your customers, speak with them wherever they hang out. That was my suggestion to Vivek. Correct. In your case, your customer literally hangs out inside their home. Okay, and they do not order made online. They order made by talking to someone, telling their neighbor, I don't know, telling their guard, right, and so on and so forth. So talk to them, understand their process, and leave your card or leave something with them that basically tells them that if they need made in the future, they probably will be able to sign. So your product here is not that feedback form that you've created. That's not your MVP. Okay, your MVP has to be something which comes in the workflow of your customer. In your case, Dipti, the workflow of your customer is, first of all, the trigger.
Okay.
I don't have a maid, I need a maid. Okay. Ability, so sorry, that is the motivation. Okay. Ability is, like the things that I need to do to get a maid, ask my neighbors, ask my friends, I don't know who, right? Trigger is basically, when the trigger is literally that the event, that moment when I say enough is enough, I'm gonna get a maid now. Okay, that is when probably I go to the kitchen and look at bunch of utensils in my kitchen, and I'm like, goodness, I'm not gonna do this. Gonna do this once, but I need a maid. It can't work like this. Okay, you want to be present inside the workflow, right? Now, how many times did you have that experience in your own life and you said, you know what, let me do a Google search to find a maid?
I have faced the situation. That's why, like, I had generated a Google form just to get the responses, like, are they having the services, or are I was trying to analyze the mentality of the people, like, do
Yeah.
they really need maid, or how much they are ready to pay. But
Mm-hmm.
I had a target of like 1,000 responses, because right now it's not possible to go to the doorstep in this COVID situation. So I was thinking to get their mentality, but so far I am just able to get around 160 responses, which is
Once,
not even the 20% of it.
huh?
So
Okay.
is there?
You know what? 160 responses, and I'm assuming people have put in their phone numbers or whatever, right?
So it is from that, like I'm doing this thing in Bangalore, and I'm collecting responses from Bangalore only. Like I have categorized as per the age group, whether they are working, not working, and my target audience would be working people.
Okay. Hold on. What part of Bangalore you are in? Where are you working? Doing this right now?
So I am a student. I'm studying, but I'm trying to get people who are like students staying in BHKs or flats, and working people who are migrants to Bangalore, basically. My
Got it.
target audience.
No, I get this, but that is your target worker, correct? Your
Yes.
target audience has to be some geographical location within Bangalore. Is it anywhere in Bangalore? Like I live in Electronic City, right? My friends live in HSR layout. If both of us said, we need a maid, you'll be able to support both of us?
No. Right now, I'm just focusing on this Banshankari.
Banshankari. Okay. So
Yeah.
here's what, if I were you, here's what I'd do is I would try to, so all of these societies, so so your market is very well defined right now. Okay. And you've got a pretty decent, 160 responses. So two things here. One is try and become a part or connect with somebody who's in part of the WhatsApp groups of these societies. Every society has a WhatsApp group, right? So either, yeah, have you done that already?
No, I didn't do that.
That's one bit. That's one thing I would do. Okay.
Okay.
First, people would, so on WhatsApp groups, it's very common for people to suggest, ask questions, get answers, and people are fairly engaged there. Okay. Second is that you would be able to with those 160 people that you have that have sort of signed up. I'll take it as a sign up, right? What is stopping you from calling up these 160 people, or maybe 20 of these 160 people, and asking them detailed questions and actually sending a maid on their way? You could get a basic
So,
run up and running, right?
correct. So I had put questions like, do you need maid? You already have, yes or no, like that. I was just trying to collect responses from each area of the Bangalore, not
Oh,
targeting Chankri in particular.
understood.
In
And
the first place, I need responses from people. Like if at least 50% of them can agree, then I can go ahead, and the door-to-door thing you said, as you said, that can be done. But I am at the very initial stage right now.
no, you're right. You're right. And Bangalore, I'll not suggest. I thought you were in Goa. I don't know what is the situation in Goa right now. But in Bangalore, yeah, of course, like you can't go door to door. Okay, WhatsApp thing will work here. Okay. The other thing that you could do is that what was I thinking? Yeah. So great first step actually. 160 people responding is actually very good. Okay. So do not worry about the 50% people agreeing. Okay. You don't need 50% people to agree. They will never agree. Okay. 50% people can't actually agree on who should rule the nation. It's very hard, right? Huge benchmark there. You just need a pattern. Okay. So let us say out of these 160 people, okay, if 20 people agreed that they need a maid, okay, and they said that they are willing to use and their behavior is similar, right? Like they are new in the city, they don't know a lot of neighbors, right? So and they're not comfortable going to someone random and asking, can you send a maid my way, right? So they'll be willing to use an online service. Okay, even if I had 15 to 20 people who would agree, and if all of these 15 20 people had similar profiles, right? So let us say all of these 15 20 people are in the age group of 20 to 25, and work jobs, live in a flat, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Then my target market is defined there itself. Okay, then I would double down. So I would do another survey again. Okay, this time focusing on Banashankari and focusing on these people. Okay, how do you focus on these people? You can't actually you can just ask this question, right? And from your sampling later on, remove everyone who does not fall into this category, right? And then look at the behavior of responses of these people, right? Important thing is to collect phone numbers or email addresses. Okay,
Okay.
right? If you don't do that, then you will not be able to reach back at them, correct? So that's what a sign up means. Right now, what you've done is an anonymous survey, and congratulations, 160 responses is not bad, right?
Thank you.
And if you have seen a pattern, I'm a potential user. I'll tell you what. Okay, and we are very, like, we use we use stuff online for everything, correct? Never seen a service like this. I've tried it out, checked out did a Google search for this once. Nothing was good. Okay. Important thing would be trust and stuff like that, right? So I think you're onto something. You will definitely have a market, but you will have to figure out your target audience, okay, and be able to get their phone numbers or email addresses. It's optional. You keep it optional in your form, right? But connect back with them and try and deliver a solution to at least 10 people of similar profiles. Okay, that's all that matters. You don't need 50% of them to agree. They will never agree. Okay, let me tell you that. Okay, just find a pattern, follow that pattern, and try to start giving a solution. I'll tell you, it's a very complex business because people will have different sets of questions. They will have fears about security. Okay, they will have fears about I don't know whether the maid is carrying some disease. Now post COVID, 100% they will have that problem, right? Whether earlier people used to say whether they're police qualified, now probably they will need a medical certificate as well, right? Now no maid will carry a medical certificate, but if you are a centralized service, you probably can do that, right? And you can probably get them a medical certificate using some sort of an insurance provider, right? Which would be great for them as well, right? So you will get a lot of mates coming to you saying, you know what, I need a job, and I know you'll give me a medical certificate and whatever. I'll also get a medical checkup, blah blah blah. Great, can you help me? So suddenly you will start to map both the sides of of your marketplace fairly well. Okay, so try to understand what are the friction points for your customers, what will stop them from using your service, right? But that is second step. First step is who is your customer and how do you reach them over and over again. So you need to get them to really sign up. Okay, try to get into WhatsApp groups. My suggestion, I think that will work, right?
Thank you so
Uh,
much, sir.
Yeah.
Utkarsh, I think we are already running 40 minutes late.
Oh goodness.
So thank you so much for being here. People who are here, Utkarsh Apoorv is official mentor of AICGIM. So when whoever feels he needs to get connected to Mr. Utkarsh Apoorv, we would be happy to do that. And thank you so much, Utkarsh, for your patience, for your thoughts sharing here. And yes, so and audience, thank you so much for being here. I think will end it here.
Great. Thanks so much, Sameer. Thanks everyone for joining us today. You can connect with me. I'm on Twitter. You can connect with me here. So the things that I've shared, I'm going to share this particular presentation on Twitter as well. And I keep writing about this stuff. If you want to get more stuff, you hopefully you'll be able to get it via my Twitter feed. And finally, it was a great audience. I loved talking to you guys. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you so much.